Welcome back, listeners, to a brand new episode of the New Standard. And you're checking out the Steelers versus Cowboys post-game show. We're coming right on after the show, or excuse me, after the game, hopping right on, give you a quick post-game. Very late due to a rain delay in Pittsburgh, which caused the game to start a lot later. I know the East Coast are probably not going to be catching the show live because it's very late. What's up, Mr. Tummy? Disappointing loss for the Pittsburgh Steelers again. Please hit me with a like and a subscribe. Big up to Anthony Picano. Hit with a like and subscribe. And it's late even for me on the West Coast. It's 10 o'clock. So I know it's late for you guys wherever you're catching the game at. Very I don't know if interesting is the right way to describe the game. If you guys have an adjective for the game in the chat, hit me with an adjective for the game other than yikes. I mean, that's about the only thing I could think of when I think of the offense and I look at some of these offensive statistics for this game. I mean, I was looking. But before we jump into the game, before I do that, I do want to pause and say congratulations to TJ Watt for getting to the century mark in terms of sacks. I think he has 100 and maybe he got his 101st sack as well. But what they posted on the show was 100 sacks in 109 games, and he has 28 forced fumbles, I think, since 2018. I mean, I guess we could describe this game offensively. Again, you're checking out the New Standard. Please like and subscribe. Thank you for hopping on the program live this late. This team, as James Lee said, this team had plenty of chances, but I'm going to keep a positive tone here. And I'm going to say it this way and describe it this way. When you play games like this, what's up, Big Mel? When you play one score games consistently, you can win some of these games and you can lose some of these games. I think the disappointing thing in this particular game is to win games in this type of fashion, you have to rely on your defense. And it was a little bit disappointing to see in this game that a unit they drive the ball downfield on the Steelers unit this entire game. And that was the frustrating thing is you're in a position where, you have the lead 17-13 and you're playing this type of game and you give up a drive. I mean, you give up another drive. You give up a long drive to lose the game. And part of the formula for them winning is to lean on their defense and win that way, kind of shorten the game, run the ball, lean on the defense, and win the game in that fashion. And so to have the defense give it up late in the game, I think is very disconcerting and very problematic for this formula to try to win. Because this is a game where if the defense is playing to the level that they needed to play for them to win these type of games, you've got to have the defense close this game out. And like Steel 43 said, playing conservatively lost them this game. And I could say that as my true or false. True or false. And thank you, Steel 43. Playing conservatively on offense cost the Steelers the game. True or false? And when it's just when you play this type of game, and I'm going to point to a stat to illustrate Anthony Picano's point. If we go to the snaps, talking about the defense being gassed. In the game, the Cowboys had the ball 33 minutes to the Steelers 27 minutes. And I'm trying to find on the stat sheet here in terms of the snaps. Here's the offensive plays to Anthony Picano's point. The Cowboys had it for 75 plays to the Steelers 57. Overall, in terms of total net yards, the Steelers gave up 445 yards. Wow. And they only gained 226. The Cowboys converted 9 of 15 on third down, 60%. They were 1 on 1 on fourth down conversions. That's to the Steelers, 3 of 12 on third down. They were 2 of 2 on fourth down, the Steelers, and 2 of 2 in the red zone. Luckily for the Steelers, they made some plays in the red zone because the Cowboys were 1 of 4. But this still was a winnable game. But man, you look at some of these stats, and I'm not sure if this is sustainable football because when you get in one score games consistently, things have to work and bounce right. But it's hard to win games when you look at some of these offensive stats. And, the Cowboys have 25 first downs, 14 by rushing, or excuse me, 9 by rushing, 14 by passing. And they doubled the passing first downs to the Steelers only had 7. The Steelers had 17 first downs overall. But I mean, the Dallas Cowboys in this game went up and down the field. And this was really a bend not break game for this defense. Let me jump into some of your comments. Let me jump into a comment here from Derpy Entertainment. He said, honestly, I knew they would lose because the media, aka they chose us all over the board, and it's about the Benjamins. Hey, Derpy, if next time they're going to lose, tip me off so I can put some money on that. Please holla at your boy. Tip me off. Help me out, please. I need my coffers to be full. Verducci, man, brought up a good point. Imagine this game. Imagine how the Steelers offense may have performed had they had Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence. But they didn't. And so, one thing on the offensive side of football, what I'm disappointed probably most in this game is the running game is still a work in progress. I mean, you look at some of the rushing stats. Najee Harris, 14 carries for 42 yards. That's a bit better than the last game where he averaged about 1.5 yards per carry. You had the guy Shampklin, from Harvard, 4 attempts, 14 yards. Ward ran it 2 times for 9 yards. They ran it as a group for 26 carries for 92 yards, only averaged 3.5 yards a carry, and Justin Fields ran it 6 times for 27 yards. They've got to get that part of the ball cooking. And this was probably Justin Fields' worst game of the year. Completed 15 balls, 27 attempts, completed 55% of his passes, 131 yards, 4.9 yards per attempt, which is, put it like this, 4.9 yards per attempt is almost the same amount of yards that Dowd, who ran for 20 for 87 for the Cowboys, averaged in the game. That's bad. I mean, that is really bad. Again, the Steelers gave up 3 sacks. They got 2 sacks. Not enough pressure in the game on Dak Prescott. They did turn him over a couple of times. But I'll say this, that I don't think they're at a point where you should make a quarterback change. They know what Justin Fields is. And I think this is how they want to play. But if they want to play this way and try to win games on the margin, which it's hard to do, they're going to have to run the ball better. They're going to have to run the ball better. And Melvin brought up a great point. And big up to Melvin. Big up the Vanderbilt Commodores with the big win over Alabama. 7 points off of 4 turnovers. I mean, that's not going to do it. That's not going to do it. And Verducci, man, same stuff, different year. I will say this, that until the offense starts scoring more points regularly, this is probably still going to be an open quarterback competition that none of the quarterbacks should feel safe. Neither one of them. Because again, this is a team that is having problems and issues with scoring points. And the defense, in my opinion, didn't play terribly, but again, if you're going to win in this type of fashion and play in this type of fashion, then you've got to be able to play uh, tremendous defense. I think it puts too much pressure on your defense. Big up to my guy Ali Howard Species. Assalamu alaikum, my brother. But again, if we were to give some quick grades in this game, I think overall you would have to give the offense, I would say, a C at best. You look at some of the offensive numbers. I mean, it's really bad. It's really bad. This is 2024, and you have 150 yards passing. The Dallas Cowboys had 200 yards more of passing. And I think what you can see just when you look at Dak Prescott's numbers and Justin Fields, Dak was 29 of 42, completed 70% of his balls, for 352, 8.5 yards per attempt, and a 90.6 rating. You compare that with Justin Fields, 15 completions, 27 attempts, completed 55% of his passes, 131 yards, 4.9 yards per attempt. It's hard to win games when the quarterback play looks like that. It's hard to win play. Clearly in this game, and although Dak made the two mistakes in the game, you could clearly see who was the better quarterback. And it gets hard to play with a quarterback deficit. And Still 43 chimed in and said, this is not a playoff team. And you could be right. This is not necessarily uh, the formula that you would want for a playoff team. But let me ask you something. Still 43. I'm trying to look at your profile picture. Is that the cat from Philly that used to be in the crew with Steady B? Is that Cool C? Is that Cool C, or is that you still 43? Because that looks like the MC Cool C from the Steady B crew. I'm serious. As serious can get. If you're an old school hip hop fan, you know that. Um it's funny. The interesting thing as well is that when you looked at the game plan offensively, I had no idea what they were trying to do in the first half. It really felt like they were trying not to lose it. You look at some of the first half stats, they were 1 of 7 on third down. They were averaging 3 yards a play, and they only had 19 pass yards at half. It almost felt like it took Justin Fields getting knocked out, resuscitated after he got hit, to be able to come back and play some quality football and play some quarterback. Like Steelers Freak said here, from field of dreams to killing fields. And that's what the NFL is, especially when you try to play like this. This is not the way to do it, in my opinion. I'm trying to say that and be as positive as possible, but they're going to have to they're going to have to turn him loose a little bit. It still feels like they're playing with some handlebars and some handrails. I don't know if he took a step back in this game, but he did not definitely take a step forward. Let me jump into some of your other comments. Um, Mr. Tummy said, I want to see Wilson at least have a comparison evaluation. Um, I think you're going to see Russell Wilson sooner than later. I was confident that you would not see him this year. If Justin Fields goes out, and I hate to agree with Chris Collinsworth, if Justin Fields goes out and played a terrific game today, then maybe there isn't a quarterback controversy. But they've got to get more out of this offense. It is too difficult to win football games this way. And that goes to their strategy. And Mr. Tummy is right. The strategy is flawed. They try to reduce games to a couple of plays, and it's a coin flip at that point. Hopefully, the Steelers execute in those situations and can win the game. But that's tough. That's tough every single time. At the end of the day, luckily for the Steelers, um, they're 3-2. They're still atop the division, but it's going in. It's. I'm not sure if it's going in the opposite direction. I mean, they do have a 2-game losing streak. I'm not sure where it is. It's just what I'm sure of is I'm probably going to see more football like this. And big up to my guy, Mike Wolf. I always respond this way to this comment. Last 2 games are games we should have won. Well, if they should have won them, they would have won them. That's how I respond to those games. And again, to Tomlin's point, you got to stop kicking ourselves in the butt so we start kicking theirs. When you're playing like this, you have to play clean. You have to play clean. You have to run the ball well. You have to run the ball well enough to stay on schedule on first down. Again, you're checking out the new standard, the Steelers versus Cowboys post-game show. But full disclosure, this was just a wonderful football weekend for me. As you guys well know, I am a Cal alum. And I watched the Steelers choke a game today, and I watched Cal choke against Miami. Let me jump into this comment from, I think, new listener. Cody, are you a new listener? Cody Higman. He said, I agree. I was thinking Fields all season of no injury, but I think Wilson will be in. Ravens are at the top. They have a divisional win. They do need to start actually opening up the playbook. Muth. They've got to see, and I could be contradicting myself. What you have to do is, in my opinion, you have to do what you need to do to win the current game. Opening things up is not something that you do in game if you have not practiced it. If they're going to open up this offense, they have to do it at practice. They have to do it at practice. That's where it starts. Let me jump into this comment from Double H. Everyone is freaking fired. Our game plans are figured out, and we are tiptoeing around how to counter quickly. Even the Giants managed to put up more yards versus the Cowboys. I mean, he's got a point. I'm not sure they're going to fire everybody, but he's got a point. I mean, this offense is stuck in the mud. I mean, it is what it is. It is trying to, it's almost like, it almost feels like they want to be good, but then they're just afraid to be good. It's weird. It's weird when you look at this offense. Ariel 75 said, why do our cornerbacks play so far away from the line of scrimmage? It just depends on whatever coverage they're in, and how they teach it. Double H again chimed in, our D is Swiss cheese, as is our O-line. O-line is young, not necessarily Swiss cheese, but the defense, that's not the response that you want from a championship defense. Ali Howard Species also talked about being heavily penalized in the game as well. And that's something, again, if you're going to play this type of football, and in fact, in terms of the penalties, I mean, the Cowboys were penalized 11 times for 87 yards to the Steelers 8 times for 50. But when you get close to 500 yards of offense, 87 yards doesn't kill you as much. And it's just hard again in the National Football League for defense to have to play perfect football. One thing that was disappointing in this game in terms of the defense was their inability to really buckle down on the run. Dallas ran it very well. And Ali Howard Species said it good right there. Afraid to be good. It's almost like, yeah, it's almost like they're afraid to be good. It's almost like a person that's afraid to accept the compliment. Like, dude, I'm trying to give you a compliment. Like it almost feels like they're stuck in playing offensive football this type of way. They've got to do something on the offensive side of football, because they've got to take a look at this. Thank you, Cody. Cody jumped and got to get some sleep, but appreciate the late night perspective. Thank you, Cody, and thank you everybody for hopping on the program. I am impressed that you guys jumped on live. You guys are crazy. Maybe I'm a little bit crazier for doing this show this late. Again, you're checking out the Steelers versus Cowboys post-game show. Mr. Tummy chimed in and said we may have to consider that this team is not good and success is an anomaly. Are we expecting too much? Well, I mean, full disclosure, I picked 7. I think I picked 10-7 this year. I think I picked 10-7, but I say this, Steeler fans, how we know how they play offensively. So I would at starting 3-2, we have to get off the emotional roller coaster. We have to, because this is how the games are going to look. You know this. And so when they get wins, it'll be because they make a play. When they lose games, they're probably not going to get blown out in any game. They'll lose games in this type of fashion. Big up, Mel, for listening to the show program. Drive safe, my brother. I heard it was really raining in the Pittsburgh area. I called my brother and called my cousins in Pittsburgh, and they said that the weather was really bad. So hopefully everybody who went to the game did it safely and gets home safely. Steve 2X, what's up? Adams trade coming this week. I hope so. Because I think the most disappointing performance, and I probably will have some grades and stuff. It's a little late, but I'll probably have some grades and stuff like that for the next game. But I think what was really disappointing was George Pickens. I really thought George Pickens was going to step up and have a really good game and really step up to the challenge of going up against the Cowboys and going up against Diggs and the top pass receiver in terms of catches, I guess was Pickens, but that was only 3 catches. He was targeted 7 times, had 26 yards. By far, probably his worst game as a pro. And so, that was a matchup that I thought that, I could see George Pickens having some success. But the Dallas secondary had a lot of success. I mean, when Van Jefferson has 26 yards in receiving to Pickens is 26, it's a bad day. I mean, no Steeler receiver had over 35 yards receiving, and that was Najee Harris was the Steelers' leading receiver. And when Najee Harris is the Steelers' leading receiver, it's all bad. So, I think this offense took a step back. They've got to go back to the drawing board and kind of figure this out. I don't think that Russell Wilson will be the starter next week, but I think if there was another game like this, you could see a quarterback change. And it could be couched in the fact that Russell was our starter. Justin did very well to get us at 3-3. Now we're going to give the ball to our starter. Let me jump into these comments by a couple of new listeners here. I don't recognize these names here, but let me jump into 8757's comment. When we didn't recover the fumble on the goal line at the end of the game, you knew that was a non-play that was going to be determinative. That was our chance. You're absolutely right. And I love the use of the word determinative, particularly this late in the day. And that's what I talk about every week. Thank you, Eddie, for that comment. That was an outstanding comment. That's what I'm talking about. When you play this type of football, you have to win on that type of margin. And that was the opportunity, and that was the type of play. The play presented itself. They didn't make the play, so they lose. So if you wanted to boil the game down to a play, you make that play, you recover the fumble, they win the game. when you play games at the margins, it's just difficult. They didn't get the fumble this time. They lose the game. Let me jump into Grayson's comment. Grayson said, "This is a loss that makes me actually question what happened during the Colts game. This was a poor showing. Najee and Pickens looked uninspired and didn't have juice." That's an interesting comment from Grayson. Big up to my guy. This was the worst game they played this year, for sure. This is definitely the worst game that they played this year. It's again, they got to start faster on offense, and I think a lot of it revolves around the running game not getting started. Double H says Snoop is banned from hanging out with the players pregame. They was smoke. I don't know. Maybe it was just gin and juice. Maybe it was just gin and juice, not the Willie Nelson potion. Maybe it was just gin and juice. Talk about gin and juice. Let me jump into another comment from and he wrote, "The teams come out and play downs the competition, waiting for them to screw up. You never see the Steelers attack and take the game over from the go." Again, I would agree. It's slow starts, and they're not starting fast on offense, and they haven't started fast on offense probably for the last 3 seasons. It is much more of the same. And you are absolutely right, Let me jump into another comment from Marlon Nicholson. What's up, Marlon? How you doing, my boy? "Look at the stuff B. Flores and the Vikings defense does and what Tara Austin does with our defense. The whole league knows we rush forward and then play them bub-ass zones." Hey, the defense again, they gave up 20 points. At some point in time, when you play, an additional almost 30 snaps. But again, some of that is the defense. The defense gave up, probably 65% on third down. But again, it's just the confluence and combination of everything. They're converting third downs. You aren't converting third downs. They possess the ball. You don't possess the ball. The snap counts gets uneven. It all compounds to make a bad outcome. And they still just lost 20-17. Reginald Rivers, absolutely. Water is wet, and the Steelers need a wide receiver. Absolutely. Uh, Virgin, calm down, my boy. Calm down. Virgin said, if I read this comment right, maybe if the Steelers smoked some crack before the game, they would come out on fire. Well, something to be calling them if they come out off a crack. It be calling me. It be calling me. Uh, Ariel's right. They did start a little bit faster with Mason Rudolph. They did start a little bit faster. Disappointing loss, albeit they are all disappointing. Not the type of game that you wanted to play. Um, Even as inept as they played offensively, they did have the lead. And this is your offense gave them an opportunity to win the game. Disappointing that the better unit, the unit that you want to hang your hat on, is the one that did not close the game out. Uh, and to like Grayson said, and this is interesting. He said, "This is probably the first loss in a while that got me feeling some kind of way. I'm starting to lose faith in the consistent pattern of these performances under a Tomlin-led football team." I would say this, and I can't speak for you, Grayson, and I can't speak for how you feel. What I would be disappointed in as a fan watching these games is that we don't see progression in the offense. Is that the offense tends to be this offense that muddles, that it's still the same thing on offense in terms of a points per game perspective. It's still treading water. It's still treading water. Virgin is saying the coach's bright idea starting the season was BD Bishop. I thought BD Bishop should have traveled on the coverage. If Coach Hatcher takes a look at the play, let me know if they were supposed to pass that off. I thought they were supposed to pass that off. It looked somewhat like a little bit of a mesh concept. Eddie 757. There is um, only one weapon, and that's Pickens. And we'll end it here. And thank you guys for chiming into the program. It is very late on my end, 10:32. I'm sure it's very late. So I really appreciate you guys. Again, you're listening to the New Standard, the Steelers versus Cowboys post-game show. Please hit me with a like and subscribe. That's the one thing you can do to make this football weekend a little bit better for me. My alma mater got punked and slapped up at the crib, but we did show out on College Game Day. We got the best signs in the country. We got the best signs in the country. And like Mike Wolf said, you hit the nail on the head about the progression thing year over year. It's just if my biggest criticism with Tomlin would be this type of offense is not going to get you to the promised land. But with that, we are going to conclude the program. And Grayson, I am going to take your advice and get some sleep. And we're going to conclude the program. And as always, tune in, tell a friend, and subscribe. Go Steelers. Drive safe, get some sleep. Holla at your boy. We'll see you on Wednesday.